Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 10th City Council meeting. D. Stiles Elliott, will you please call roll?
Mayor Benjamin.
Present.
Councilmember DeLira.
Here.
Councilmember Fajarin.
Here.
Councilmember Gaither. Councilmember Guido. Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Councilmember Weller.
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
Councilmember Gaither.
He was there.
It looks like
Oh, he's.
Are we working? Okay,
Councilmember Gaither.
great. Councilmember Guido asked to be excused for this meeting, so I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. On to announcements. We have a few announcements tonight. First of all, Orchard Drive and Valley Road resurfacing project. This is something that we've heard a lot from the community, that they're excited about Orchard Road being resurfaced. The city of Pullman is contract with Motley Pullman to resurface the following two street segments on College Hill: Orchard Drive from Stadium Way to Valley Road, and Valley Road from Orchard Drive to Cove Way, including the intersection of Valley Road and Cove Way. Work is scheduled to begin Monday, June 16th, and will be completed by Friday, August 15th. Project streets will be closed to through traffic with detour signs signed accordingly. Local residents will be allowed to access their work areas, though delays may be experienced due to active construction. To view traffic control maps on this and other projects, go to pullman-wa.gov/traffic_control. And for transit news, Pullman Transit is getting 3 new electric buses this June. The first has already been delivered, and actually I had an opportunity to be on it earlier today. And 2 more will be delivered in the next few weeks. These buses are paid for by state and federal grants. Pullman Transit also just received a Washington State Department of Transportation Consolidated Grant Program Award of $1.85 million to purchase 2 more electric buses, which means the city of Pullman will be up to 8 electric buses, which is very exciting. On to Parks and Recreation. Rainy Park Pool opens this Saturday with the warm weather and with students getting out on Friday. They're ready for it to be open. It opens at 1 o'clock. It's not too late to get memberships to let you swim all summer long at Rainy Park and the Pullman Aquatic Fitness Center, or both. And you can go to pullman-wa.gov/swim to get your memberships today. For the library, Neal Public Library's 2025 Summer Reading Program kicks off this Saturday, June 14th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. This year's theme is Color Our World. Come to the library on Saturday to pick up your summer reading challenge, participate in some fun events, and explore all the activities that will keep you reading, creating, and celebrating all summer long. And for more listings on community events, please go to the city's tourism page at visitpullman.com/events. The next item on the agenda is non-agenda item related community comments. This agenda items is the first of 2 opportunities during this meeting for the public to bring comments to the attention of the elected officials. Specifically, this item is reserved for public comments, concerns, or information not related to a previous public hearing or final action on this agenda. Final action items include confirmation of appointments, consent agenda items, and regular agenda items. This agenda item for comments will not exceed 30 minutes in total. Comments are to be directed to the mayor or the city council as a body. No comments to be directed to individual council members. Each person has 2 minutes, and if anyone would like to provide a public comment on a non-agenda item things, please come to the microphone and speak. So please go ahead.
Jessica Nash. I live at 523 Southeast South Street. I'm here about 2 intersections. One is Spring and South Street, the northwest corner. You can't see through the shrubbery to see the traffic coming up Spring Street. And the other one is South Street and High Street. There's a bush on the northwest corner that the people that had the property before used to trim it, And I've asked the gentleman to trim it because it goes all the way to the ground, and he hasn't done it yet, but you can't see past it. So that's all I wanted to do, was just mention
Great.
those two corners.
Thank you very much. And it's already been recorded to be worked on. Next person.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Carloy, president of Pullman Civic Trust, and I am here to invite all of the council, the mayor, the city staff, everybody in the community to our event coming up on June 20th, so a little less than 2 weeks away, called Pedal Pullman. This is a event that celebrates Pullman's trails. It's family friendly. It's great for all ages. It's a ton of fun. And this year, our adventure for you all is putting together a puzzle, a mystery puzzle. So it'll be a lot of fun. So I hope everybody will put it on their calendar, look for our colorful flyers around town, and come join us to celebrate Pullman's trails, including the new trail that is on Main Street. So I have handouts for you. Thank you.
If you please give those to Dee, and then she can pass them out. Is there anyone else who'd like to provide
Hey,
public
can I
comment?
request 3 minutes? It says on the website you can have 3 unless there's a concern about time, and it doesn't look like there's going to be that many people.
Please go ahead.
So Mayor and City Council, I attended the City Council meeting a few weeks ago when Assessor Flodine presented and was immensely dismayed in the section concerning property taxes. I followed up with an email to the Mayor and City Council in response to the many false and distractionary statements she made during her presentation, but have not received a response from any of you, so I'm coming to this meeting to present them in person in the case you didn't have a chance to read them. After that meeting, I'm still left with the question as to whether the City Council doesn't understand the problem at hand, or whether such a large and unconstitutional burden on Pullman taxpayers is unconcerning to you. I even asked in my email for an invitation to come and present the full story, but have not heard anything. I would still love that invitation, or maybe back every council meeting until the story can be told in 2 to 3 minute segments. One of the problems with that meeting is that you platformed her misinformation and did not challenge her in any appreciable manner. Had a normal citizen of Pullman watched that meeting and your questioning of Assessor Flodine and didn't know better, they would have come away from that exchange assuming that Assessor Flodine is following the law and that she has corrected the problems in unfair taxation. That couldn't be further from the truth. Here are the facts. The previous assessor was not following state law concerning revaluation for many, many years. It didn't have an outsized effect because almost everyone had the same assessed to actual value ratio. The current assessor did not follow the law in the 2024 reassessment plan, and she continues to not follow the reassessment plan in 2025 and beyond, and will not be in compliance with state law until the end of this 6-year cycle, 5 years from now, in which everyone will finally be adjusted. During these 6 years, Pullman residents will likely pay 50 to 100% more than their fair share of taxes in districts that are shared with the rest of the county. We have collected data from those affected, and each Pullman resident is paying about $1,500 more per year, which will go down as equalization occurs, but it's thousands and thousands of dollars. And if you extrapolate that to the rest of the city, you are talking about tens of millions of dollars over this 6-year cycle that is being bled out of the city of Pullman. This is disposable income that could be spent on in city businesses, at restaurants, so tens of millions of dollars. I know my previous email was long, and maybe you haven't gone and looked at our website, whitmanpropertytax.info, but it is imperative that the City Council fully understand this issue as our elected representatives and go to bat for the citizens of Pullman. Literally every resident of Pullman, whether that be a homeowner, whether that be a renter, whether that be a business owner, is being negatively affected by this unconstitutional act by the assessor. And in many Supreme Court cases, both in Washington state and federally, when there is a case where an assessor cannot follow the law in assessing properly, so she can't follow that law, but she's also in violation of our equal protections regarding equality in taxation, the mandate is that they must meet equality in taxation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else like to provide public comment? This would be for non-agenda item related. Please.
Good evening. Bobby Ryder with Downtown Pullman Association. And I just want to give you an update on what we've been up to. The DPA annual meeting was on the 14th of April, and the board was reelected with 2 new members who were welcomed to the board, Mackenzie Brummett and Garth Mader. We successfully applied for and received $23,000 from the Whitman County Blue Ribbon Advisory Task Committee, or the .09 funding. Thank you to Whitman County. On the 17th of May, the Downtown Riverwalk took place. It was a collaborative effort between the Downtown Pullman Association, Greystone Galleries, and the Pullman Chamber of Commerce. 17 businesses participated by hosting 21 artists whose work was both beautiful and thought-provoking. Highlights included the unveiling of the Lentil Festival poster and T-shirt design, as well as a historic tour, walking tour around the downtown. Participating businesses reported that increased foot traffic occurred and considered it a successful day for downtown commerce. In terms of downtown enhancements, DPA is looking for volunteers for a gardening beautification group. Please see me if interested. The T-Mobile lights have been officially transferred to the city, and the first set of downtown banners were installed just in time for Pride Month, featuring vibrant work by Megan Farron. We appreciate Megan's creative contribution. The Main Street Administrative Review went very well, confirming our continued participation as a Main Street city. We will continue to participate in the B&O tax credit program. Local businesses have noted that the peaceful protests at Cougar Plaza and Pullman Library have actually boosted sales. Protesters have been stopping by for coffee, ice cream, lunch, books, clothing, jewelry. An unexpected but welcomed form of economic development activity. Thank you to all who support local.
Thank you for your comments. Next person.
Hello? Hello? Hello. Cindy Kotanda Raman, 410 SW, Crestview Street, Condo A1, Pullman, Washington. I am here on this agenda item because I have spoken to many people over the years. I have taken data samples from public comments, even just recently, that people are very upset about not having a real voice in public policy development and decisions in this city. And the times are coming where we're not just like a 70-30, a 60-40 split, and people who are struggling to get by and people who are living a pretty good life, or better, a lot better. We need an ongoing public participation device, and I am suggesting, I will email it to your clerk tonight. We need a mediated settlement between Pullman Regional Hospital, who is loopholing different IRS tax laws to avoid the Affordable Care Act, to provide health equity in this community. It obstructs city planning. City planning is a full planning area under GMA. I've written to Art on the Whitman County Board. They're a partial planning area. The port is a partial planning area. Not really sure about PRTPO yet, about that whole truck study, but I would like to see the parties to get together, come up with a mediated, statistically valid community health needs assessment, and I'll send it to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to provide public comment? With that, on to the next item, which is city council member comments. I'll start with Councilmember Fajarin.
Thank you. I just have one announcement, and it concerns this month being Pride Month. So Pullman Pride is back for its second year, and we need everybody's support to make it bigger and better. On June 21st, we will celebrate Pride with a rally, parade, and a picnic. It all starts with a rally at Cougar Plaza. Hopefully there'll be some journeys to local businesses afterwards, followed by a parade through downtown, and ends with a picnic and family activities in Rainey Park. The category this month is Ballroom, celebrating the legacy of queer and trans Black and brown communities who taught us what it means to be unapologetically ourselves. Sign making starts at 9 a.m. at Neil's Pups and Cups or any other local coffee place, and join us for 11:30 for the rally and parade downtown. Thank you.
Councilmember Parks?
Thank you. Excuse me. I would like to just address the agenda item that's before us tonight regarding the agreement between the Neal Public Library Board, of which I am on as a city council representative, and the city. I believe that the board, and some of them are going to speak probably, but they're very, very much in favor of it and very happy that the process was finally completed and is satisfactory to both parties. So I think I, as a board member, appreciate the city's cooperation, listening, and working together with the library board to keep the integrity that they've always had. Thank you.
Councilmember Wright? Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. There's going to be a few. I'll keep them as short as possible, which I know is always difficult for me. First, I want to say thank you so much to Sean Wells. He addressed a steel cover. I know it sounds small, but it was a steel cover that's been an issue for many years. He dealt with it. And there's the man of the hour. I was just talking about you, buddy. Sean Wells, I wanted to say thank you for addressing that steel cover down on Kamiakin in downtown. As I already said, it seems like a small thing, but it could have been a real hazard, and Sean got on it right away as soon as I said something. So I really, really appreciate it. It shows the quality of our staff, so thank you, Sean, for that. Second is the Moscow Community Theater. I know, before anybody says this isn't Moscow, is partnering with Suicide Prevention of the Inland Northwest on a play called Right Before I Go by Stan Zimmerman this Saturday at 7 p.m. at Inland Oasis. It addresses suicide awareness. It has actors from both sides of the border. For some reason, they asked me to be a part of it. This is part of the reason I'm also sharing it. It's really, really important. It's a moving play, so if anybody has a chance, definitely show up. On the 31st, May 31st, Whitman Recovery Community Center had a grand opening. It was very impressive to see the amount of people who came. I sit on that board. But that's not the only thing. If you have a chance to sometime go down during Saturday or go to the Music on Main or something like that, something's happening, and it's really, really impressive. So thank you, Downtown Pullman Association, the Chamber. It was really cool when I was down there. I was walking from the Recovery Center, and then may have not been on the same day. I may be getting the days mixed up, but regardless, there was a foot race of a bunch of kids who were about anywhere from 6 years old all the way up to 14 happening on our wide sidewalks. I've never seen that before. And then as you go down, you hear the music coming from Music on Main. That is what we're looking for. So thank you, Downtown Pullman Association, for that. Next, I did want to bring up real quick, I'm on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and we were talking today about the importance of securing your load when you bring items to the Whitman County landfill. People may think, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but it causes more accidents, more crashes, and deaths than you might realize. So I urge everyone as you're going to the landfill to remember to secure your load. And the State Patrol will be doing special emphasis on this. So if you don't like the idea of getting a ticket or also the possibility of hurting somebody, just secure your load. And lastly, I think it's important to mention something that we've seen that's pretty heartbreaking. Over in Albion, I think a lot of people have seen reports of the hoarding case, animal hoarding case. And we've had a situation in Pullman, I believe it was a few years ago. Now, I think it's important, even though it's over in Albion, for us to remember that we're really in charge of the safety and health of these animals. It hits home for me, and I'm sure many of you. And I think it's important to check in with those people who might be, hoarding is often related to mental health. And so talking to people who may be experiencing a mental health crisis, or this might seem to be happening with them, can stave off a situation where there's 50 animals in one home who are starving or not getting the proper need, and same with the person who is doing the hoarding. So I just want to make sure that if you know a friend that might be going through a mental health crisis, please check in with them. Be understanding, kind, compassionate, and empathetic, even though it might be a little difficult and angering to see a situation like that. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Delera?
No comment.
Councilmember Gaither?
No comment.
Thank you. Next item is future agenda requests. Are there any future agenda requests that a city council member has? Seeing none, we're on to community comments on final action items. This agenda item is the second of two opportunities during this meeting for the public to bring comments to the attention of elected officials on any agenda item that the city council will be taking final action at this meeting. This is excluding items where public comment was previously accepted. This exclusion attends to prior public hearings. Final action items include confirmation appointments, consent agenda items, regular agenda items. The agenda item for comments is not to exceed 30 minutes in total. Comments are to be directed to the mayor or the city council as a body. No comments should be directed to an individual council member. We do have an agenda item on here that is public comment time. Your comments would not be accepted at this time, but would be accepted at that time for that. So is anybody who would like to provide public comment on any final agenda items? And I think we have a couple from the library. This would be for the library board, for those that wanted to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Kate Watts. I'm currently the Neal Public Library Board of Trustees Chair, and I also served on the subcommittee that worked with Mayor Benjamin to make Ordinance 2510 a reality. As members of the Board of Trustees, we are grateful for the City's Council's recognition of our role in shaping the library's direction. The library was formed in 1922 and the board in 1929, but in the last century, neither the library nor the board were established in city code. Ordinance number 2510 formalizes the board's responsibilities, aligning them with the best practices in library governance. For example, the American Library Association's policies. And it ensures clarity in our operations by formalizing the city, mayor, council, director, and board's roles and responsibilities. This ordinance empowers the board, among other responsibilities, to adopt policies that guide library materials and services, ensuring they meet community needs, provide thoughtful oversight of a vital, publicly funded community resource, ensuring transparency, accessibility, and responsible stewardship. By enacting this ordinance, the City Council affirms the importance of a dedicated, community-focused board in stewarding our library's future. We are committed to upholding these responsibilities and working collaboratively with the Council to serve the residents of Pullman. Thank you for your continued support of the library.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Good evening, Mayor Benjamin and members of the Pullman City Council. My name is Mary Jane Neal, and I am a member of the Neal Public Library Board of Trustees. I'm midway through my second term on the board, And since my formal involvement with the library as a trustee, and certainly long before that, years before that, establishing Neal Public Library in City Code has long been a topic of discussion and a priority. Neal Public Library, as Kate said, was founded in 1922, and since that time has operated without a formal ordinance outlining the duties and responsibilities of the Board of Trustees, the library director, the city council, and the mayor. This ordinance, 2510, will define the roles and responsibilities of the board, the director, and the city, thus eliminating potential friction and confusion. The Board of Trustees appreciates the support and collaboration of Mayor Benjamin as we work toward making this document a reality. In addition, we appreciate the support of our council liaison, Ann Parks, and City Councilman Nathan Weller, and their dedication to Neal Public Library. I would also like to thank Dan Owens, the former library director, for his enthusiasm, his guidance, his knowledge of the library, and his unwavering dedication to getting this ordinance in place for the library. The Board of Trustees supports Ordinance 2510, and we urge you to vote in favor of it. It's particularly important at this time that this ordinance is in place, as we're going to be welcoming 2 new members to the Board of Trustees, and soon we'll have a new library director. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment?
I would like a point of clarification. May I speak on item M? Or is that a different time?
So item M, which is the
M is in Mary?
So item M, which is public hearing, this is not the time for the public hearing. That's, the public hearing I'll call that specific during that one.
Oh, thank you.
So, thank you. And I apologize for the confusion that can happen. Any other? Seeing no others, we're now on to confirmation of appointments. As was stated, we have 2 appointments related to the library. And just for clarification, we have one person that is going to time out with her appointment at the end of this year, one that is resigning as of July 1. And so Karen Weatherspoon, I'm sorry, Weatherman. My glasses are not working. Karen Weatherman would actually be appointed for January 1st, 2026 through December 31st of 2031. And then Whitney Callahan would be appointed for July 1st of this year through December 31st of 2029. You just have the expiring terms. You don't have the beginning start times. And what it is we have people that are coming off, and this is actually appointments ahead of time. And I really appreciate when we are able to fill appointments before an end of a term because it makes transitions so much better for these. So with that, I'm going to turn to Ann Parks since I know she would like to be able to make this motion.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say I was part of the committee to review these files and interview all of the candidates. And I do want to say publicly that it was not an easy decision. We had several very, very good candidates, very strong. So I hope that when future openings come up, those folks will consider applying again. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to appointing Whitney Callahan and Karen Weatherman to the Neal Public Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? It passes. Okay. Good day for the library. Yes. Yes. Next, we're on to presentations. The first one, Darren Jones, our fire marshal, for the 2025 retail fireworks permit investigation report. With that,
good evening. Pullman Fire Department Bureau of Fire Prevention has received 1 application for the retail fireworks permit. The application was received on March 26th which is within the set application period of March 1st to May 1st of each year. Samuel Palmer has applied for the permit. Mr. Palmer will be supplied fireworks from American Promotional Events, doing business as TNT Fireworks. All required documents have been included in the application packet. This is the same applicant and supplier from the years 2022, 2023, and 2024. The proposed retail fireworks sales site is 1690 Southeast Harvest Drive, Walmart, store number 1870. An authorization letter from Walmart allowing the sales of the fireworks was submitted with the application package. Per Pullman City Code 3.16.015, subsection 7, subsection B, applications which have been timely submitted to the fire chief shall be investigated and a report of the investigation submitted to the council at its second regular meeting in May of each year or as soon thereafter as possible. This is where we are tonight. So the valid permit application has been accepted. There's been no problems with this vendor or permit applicant. It has been processed and approved. So we have one retail fireworks sales. Retail fireworks sales are from July 1st through July 4th, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Within the city of Pullman.
Any questions from the council? With that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is the 2024 Parks and Recreation Annual Report. And with that, we have Recreation Manager Megan Vining and Parks and Facilities Director Kurt Damon. With that, Megan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sorry, pen's falling. We are excited to present the 2024 Annual Report from the Pullman Parks and Recreation Department. We are proud to highlight the accomplishments and milestones that have continued to shape our community's recreational landscape over the past year. 2024 was another year of growth and development for our department as we continued to enhance the quality of life for all our residents through diverse and engaging recreational programs and well-maintained parks and facilities. Our commitment to providing a wide variety of programs catering to all ages remains steadfast with our mission and vision. From preschool, youth, teen programs, to aquatics, to active adults and senior citizens, we truly have something for everyone. You can follow along on the report. I won't be going page by page, but rather highlighting specific data for you guys tonight. So in 2024, we engaged with many partners, including a new partnership with Whitman County Public Health to be able to provide free swimming lessons to Pullman residents through a generous grant. We collaborated with Palouse Discovery Science Center to provide free attendance to the Science Center for our Care to Share scholarship recipients. And Pullman Child Welfare continued to provide rainy pool passes either for free or at a reduced fee for many youth and families. We are proud to incorporate the National Parks and Recreation Association, NRPA, 7 dimensions of well-being: cultural, economic, emotional, environmental, intellectual, physical, and social dimensions into our into our department through our programs, practices, and strategies. We believe in fostering a sense of community through our many community events. These include annual egg hunts, Care to Scare Halloween Carnival, Spooky Splash, Arbor Day, Spring Cleanup, concerts in the park, and movies in the park. Our Parks and Recreation sponsored Lentil Festival events, 5K softball tournament, and 3-on-3 basketball tournament continue to bring together our community and residents. Our department staff have participated in many other community civic fairs and events, such as Family Fair, National Night Out, Health Fair for All of Us, National Lentil Festival, and Three Forks River and Arts Festival, to name a few. In 2024, we successfully introduced and made many changes to many new youth sport leagues, youth camps, classes, and new enrichment activities, which received overwhelming positive feedback and participation, including a new Wheatfield Classic softball tournament for youth ages 12 through 18 years with out-of-town teams traveling to Pullman. We added 3 pickleball tournaments and 1 winter pickleball league. In addition to increasing the number of the Lennell Festival 3-on-3 Hoop Classic to 39 teams and over 150 participants. We continue to maintain a full preschool program each year, with 64 students, and last year we had 29 graduating from our program. Also, with the increase of middle school students attending the Recreation Center after-school open gym hours, we've successfully hired 2 staff and implemented a new after-school program serving 6th through 8th graders with an activity space. To date, we have sold 10 annual passes, 20 monthly passes, and we've sold over 182 daily passes. Our senior center and active adult programs continue to explode each year. Participation in activities and trips increased by over 3,000 from 2023 to 2024. Council on Aging meals on Tuesdays and Fridays increased by 990, and sign-ins at the senior center increased by 863. We increased the number of activities offered to the community as we continue to strive to meet the diverse needs of our residents. We also continue to have a strong partnership with the Pullman Senior Center Association and its board. They have over 290 members. With nearly 25 years in the community offering year-round swim lessons, WEX programs, water exercise programs, lap swim, special events, and a fitness room, we continue to achieve high participation and attendance numbers at the Pullman Aquatic and Fitness Center. We served over 22,000 individuals in aquatic center programs, including over 1,200 participants in swim lessons, and sold 185 water exercise passes. We had over 15,000 membership check-ins, and 932 memberships were sold. I'm going to go back one page. Rainy Pool numbers include 119 Rainy annual memberships sold, almost 2,000 membership check-ins, over 3,100 drop-ins, and we served over 5,300 participants at Rainy with swim lessons, water exercise check-ins and drop-ins, and the Barracudas. That's our summer swim team. The team had another strong summer with over 50 swimmers and brought home the Tri-County Swim League Championship. We increased our department's participation and participant attendance from 2023 to 2024 by more than 10,600 people, or 20%, by serving over 62,000 individual participants, which transcended to recording over 133,000 in participant attendance, or an increase of 47,000, or 47%. In addition to our department's programs, activities, and special events, we also provided 557 facility rentals. That includes our recreation center, our Pullman Aquatic and Fitness Center, and Rainy Pools, our field rentals for softball and baseball games, tournaments, sports camps, and also Sunnyside Gym with basketball, field hockey, and drop-in adult volleyball. We continue to see an increase in recreation center and Pullman Aquatic and Fitness Center rentals during the fall and winter months. As you can see, the Recreation Division had a very engaging year. I will now turn it over to Kurt Damon, Parks and Facilities Director, for his report on the Parks and Facilities Division, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Megan, and good evening, Mayor and members of Council. As I put together the Parks report, kind of found myself somewhat disappointed because I wanted to keep comparing to 2023 when we did so many parks, playground projects, shelters, or whatever. But in going back and reviewing 24, we did some substantial projects that made a difference in the appearance and functionality of our park. So really pleased with that. Just a couple things I wanted to point it out, just that are kind of some parks assets that we also manage. We have, 18 green spaces, primarily parks, and a lot of what we call squares and triangles. If you drive kind of from the south end on Grand all the way to the north, from Just Ford out to the roundabout, you notice all these different pockets. Those are also areas that our staff maintains, as well as a lot of the downtown beautification that you see. We have 18 miles of trail, maintain over 160 acres. In our parks, cemeteries, and other green spaces. And then another division, our government building, that it does all the custodial and maintenance for our facilities. Last year, we closed 563 tickets and also coordinated a couple major projects that included new chiller units on the police department, Old City Hall, and replacement of garage doors on the police department as well. So just a couple other kind of reservations, miscellaneous things that run through our department. A number of shelter reservations that take place in our parks, primarily Sunnyside and Krugel Park. Last year we did 46 burials out at the cemetery compared to 26 in 2023. RV nights and tent reservations down at the RV park, as well as renting out Lawson Gardens for weddings. So just a couple of the park projects we did last year. Conservation Park Path. This was kind of the final project we did with our 2018 Parks and Path Bond. It was a project in coordination with our engineering division here in the city. So this is a gravel path that goes from the end of Harrison Street through Conservation Park up to Copper Basin. I mentioned we worked with the engineering division because it was a project that kind of was twofold. A lot of this path is on a sewer line, so it provides a little easier access for M&O if they got to clean out sewers, and then in return provides a nice improved path for the community. Path crack fill, this is the second year where we've focused on a section of path within the city to address cracks that form in those. Last year we did a section from the WSU Visitor Center on Spring Street over to Stadium Way on the north end. So about 3/4 of a mile section we did last year. This year we will be doing from the Pullman Moscow Airport along Terraview Drive all the way over past the WSU Golf Center to about the new roundabout there. So about a 2.5 mile section of path we'll address this year. Then also replaced about 600 feet of sidewalks at McGee Park, along with the stairs on the east end. That's kind of hard to see there, but that was severely crumbling. So a good upgrade, excited for that project to be completed, as that's a pretty major thoroughfare for WSU students walking from apartments onto the WSU campus. Another project was cemetery expansion. We expanded about 2.5 acres on the south side of cemetery, our cemetery land out there. We felt the need to do this as we're probably about 80% sold on burial plots in the city, so we wanted to kind of start planning for the future there. We are just going to kind of focus on about 1/3 of that area right now and get that ready for development, and staff are currently installing irrigation on that project. We did add 2 new columbariums out at the cemeteries last year. Each unit has 40 niches. One thing new with these niches, kind of hard to see, but the 2 middle columns in there, they're kind of double-sized, or what we're calling companion or family niches, where you could have up to 4 urns in one of those. Replaced a couple of shelters. One in the upper left there is a new shelter down at the city playfields by the Little League baseball field. This replaced an old blue shed that was there. Kind of one of my favorite projects because it helped address the area. It also provided an area that a lot of, one, it added some spectator space for baseball, softball games, but also just for users of the track down there. There's a lot of senior citizens that use that track, and we really had no place for them just to take a break or sit down and visit. You see a lot of people stop there and have lunch during the day. On the upper right is a shelter at Sunnyside Park down by the lower ponds. This replaced the old restrooms that were original to the park in the early 70s. I wish I had another picture to show there, because about from that same area that this was taken, before we tore down the bathrooms, you could hardly see there was a building there because it was so overgrown. So I think just a nice project that we updated the park, just another extra pavilion for people to use for picnic space. And then last fall, we added a pool liner to the lap pool at Rainy Pool. This is our second liner that we've added. The last one in 2021 in the dive pool. Really kind of looking forward to this. It will reduce our maintenance over years, each year when we prep for the season, because this pool would get painted, so all the blue would be brand new. The lane lines would get repainted, so should save staff a lot of time. And then the downtown project. Kind of always joked with other city staff. They were excited to see the project in. I kind of responded back, well, it's just a beginning for the Parks Department. With all the landscaping that went into that project. And just a little fun fact, went back through construction documents and looked at the number of trees, shrubs, various plants, bulbs, daffodils, all that stuff that was to go on the ground, and just pick a number in your head. And by the construction documents, 2,773 went in the ground. So staff has been busy taking care of that, maintaining that this spring. Hanging baskets are up. As was mentioned earlier, the banners also got put up, finished getting those put up yesterday. So pretty excited how this is turning out and watching it evolve, and probably be working with some volunteer groups that are eager to help out downtown as well. So excited about that. A couple other projects that we have just for 25, recently completed kind of a phase 2 of upgrading power at our RV park. So all sites have 50 or 30 amp service now. Working on our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan. The principal for Pros Consulting will be on site tomorrow for our third and final public meeting. Also meet with our Parks and Rec Commission on Thursday, and is scheduled to be back here July 8th for a presentation to City Council, kind of entering kind of the final chapter of wrapping up our master's plan. Also possible pickleball court expansion, which is a agenda item this evening. Also Emerald Point Playground, working towards that project as well. So just in closing, Megan and I would extend our gratitude to all of our dedicated parks, recreation, and facility staff, the city staff and administration we work with, our volunteers, community partners, sponsors, and residents who make our programs and facilities thrive. As we move through 25, we remain committed to our goals and created a vibrant and inclusive community through exceptional recreational experiences. And with that, Megan and I would take any questions.
With that, so Councilmember Weller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Parks and Rec, powerhouse. That's what I think. You guys are just absolutely amazing. You know I love McGee Park. I mean, living right there, I think I like my walks with my dog more than he does. And I will say one thing, not fully related, but I do think it needs to be said. Megan, thank you so much for your leadership during a very, very difficult time. You all have so much going on, and I will say this, and I told this to the library. There are really two things that I do when I go into a new community, whether I'm visiting or in the past when I was working in different areas. That's visit the parks and visit the library. And I will say, hands down, that our parks, and this is nothing against the library, but I'm saying that our parks are absolutely phenomenal in comparison to the communities that I've been to, and big and small. And the emphasis on the walkways, especially with the updates to McGee, what you're doing in the downtown as well, it's so very, very impressive. And I hear constantly, and this is from people even out in Whitman County, they talk about coming into Pullman to be involved in our recreation. So that's a lot to say. So I just want to thank both of you for that. And Kurt, you know this is coming. Now, we have the goats out at the Conservation Park, isn't that right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That is correct. Yeah, so working with the Phoenix Conservancy, they bring, I'm not sure how many goats they have out there, but they came in on Sunday and should be here through the weekend, doing their job and eating noxious weeds and other plant material.
Councilmember Parks?
Thank you. First of all, I do want to thank you both for all of the work that you do and the entire department. I just want to emphasize that lately I've been seeing a lot of chatter or hearing things that there's nothing to do in Pullman. And I would challenge anybody to not find at least one thing in this presentation alone that they could go and do and enjoy. So we are very fortunate to have the parks facilities and areas that we do have. So I just very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Fajarin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'll just continue the shower of compliments for our two amazing Parks and Rec folks here. Thank you so much. I tell folks that for every dollar that's invested in Parks and Rec, $4 is received in communities from economic benefits. So the work that Parks and Rec does is so important to our community. One question just about the recent change of ownership of the Aquatic Center. Do we expect any change of programming, membership rates, any conversations around that happening yet?
Yeah, we are still in the middle of the conversations between the City of Pullman, Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories, and Pullman School District, with information to probably be coming out here shortly. For the meantime, there are no changes with the Aquatic Center programming for the near future, but we will continue to work with the contract that we will put forth that will completely delineate what our responsibilities will be between the school district, Schweitzer, and the city. So it's coming shortly, we promise.
And the change of ownership hasn't happened yet. It's in a process. Councilmember Valera?
Thank you so much for all your work for the city, and thank you for your presentation. I know I've talked to Megan at one point about activities geared towards young professionals. I was just wondering, has there been any recent updates or work around that?
Yeah, I continue to work with local individuals, business owners, instructors who are interested in providing opportunities almost daily. Got something today. I continue to work with and have been with the Chamber and the Young Professionals Group to identify what specific activities individuals might be looking for. We did offer a series of financial workshops this spring. Just one of them went, but that's okay. That's success in my eyes. That means that the word is out there, and we'll continue to work with Katie Van Weingarten on future classes with that. And I'm working with her closely on identifying other opportunities. Also, through that, DJ Mackey, our recreation supervisor, met with Matt Forge, Pete Chittenden, Mackenzie Brummett on working together on how to get adult softball in the hands of some different groups of young professionals that are in the community, and that really elevated our co-ed softball program that we started earlier this summer. So, yeah, positive on the forward projection. If you have any other ideas or you hear something from somebody that I would love to see a class on this, an activity, a social event, please send them my way or just email me and let me know so I can reach out to those people. Yeah, absolutely.
Councilmember Wright?
I just want to say that one consistent comment that I hear about Parks and Rec all the time is that your can-do attitude and your being able to get to yes speaks volumes. And I hear that from a lot of different segments of the community. And in looking at the year's report from 2024, I know as you're going through all of those activities, it's like, oh my gosh, we have been so busy. And then when you put that report together and you see all the hard numbers, that validates that, yes, indeed, you have been busy. And you guys deserve all of the recognition and the kudos that you get for a great job day in and day out. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
So I think you heard from everyone here how much Park and Rec is appreciated within the community. You do an incredible job. A couple things that you that you talked about. One is the Care to Share program. And could you talk a little bit more about it, just for the community members to know the opportunities they have to donate and also the opportunities to be able to receive benefit?
Absolutely. Our Care to Share program is not only for youth, but also seniors and active adults. So 0 to 17, and then active adults as well. Our youth program, a youth can apply for up to $80 off of an activity, or it could be multiple activities, and they can do that 3 times a year, so up to $240 for activities. And it can be used in a variety of ways. It can be used for sports, Scott's bike camps, summer camps, preschool, swim lessons, things like that. The active adults is the same thing. We give a lot of active adults and seniors Care to Share scholarships for WEX memberships or Aquatic Center memberships, so that's a great resource as well. Active adults can receive up to $40 off an activity. They can do that 3 times a year. If somebody's interested in donating, we have a link on our website for people to donate. They can donate to a specific program. They can donate to a specific individual. If you know someone in the community that you want to give the opportunity to whitewater raft this summer for a teen, you can tell us who that child's name is, and we can do it anonymously and contact them and say someone's donated money for them to participate, or however it works. We work with a variety of individuals to get that money to families. To date, or in 2024, we gave 251 awards to over $12,000 worth of scholarships. So we continue to raise more and more every year. We have a few different events that contribute money. Our Tasty Lentil 5K, Lentil Fest weekend, that money from that event goes to Care to Share scholarships as well. I thought I would just throw in that working with the Whitman County Public Health last summer on swimming lessons, which we are working with them again this year. Last year, we gave away over $2,000 worth of scholarships specifically for swimming lessons, and we gave 54 awards to families. So we are on track for that again this year as well, too.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I wanted to make sure that we communicated out to the community, is that we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate in these programs. And I know there's community members that very much care that way, and community members very much care about our parks and our recreation. If you go to the Park and Recreation's website, on the donate page, you could even do things where you can sponsor one of the flower baskets downtown. There's a lot of different opportunities. If you love the Easter egg hunt, you can help sponsor for us putting the Easter egg hunt on in that way. So these are opportunities for the community to be involved in areas where you have passions. With that, any other comments? If not, thank you very much. Next presentation is on the downtown project status update, and we have Public Works Director Sean Wells and our interim city administrator Jeff Albrecht.
Good evening, everyone, council and mayor. As my presentation gets pulled up here for us, perfect. I'm here tonight to give a kind of a project wrap-up on the project downtown Pullman. And Jeff's going to help as well when we get into some of the financials on this. So this is kind of what we did, everything we've done and accomplished with this massive project. And thought we'd just dive right in with statistics. So as you can see here, there was a lot of quantities that we did. We removed a lot of quantities of material. We put in a lot of pipe. We put down over 3,600 tons of asphalt. The square yards of sidewalk and curb. It was just massive, right? It's one of the biggest capital projects this city has undergone in many, many years. And the contractor put in over 20,000 construction hours worked. Some of those community benefits that were added. We allowed 3 new fire lines for property owners for future fire sprinkler connections. They paid for those on their own, but we coordinated with our contractor, our designer, and those property owners to get them the ability to connect to fire sprinkler services should they want to in the future. And those were completely paid for by those 3 property owners. We also added 5 new dedicated accessible parking stalls in addition to the 2 that were kind of restriped on Olson. We added 3 on Main Street, 1 on Pine, and 1 on Kamiakin. We also, and if you didn't realize it, added 3 new dedicated motorcycle parking spaces. And I'll let you go find those. It's like a treasure hunt. We eliminated a lot of buckled sidewalk. As you remember, that was one of the biggest complaints we had on the surface of the sidewalks that were out there, were the trees buckling those. And we created an ADA compliant sidewalk system on all of Main Street at this time. We removed 1 traffic signal at Pine, but we put back a pedestrian signal in its place. And so that allows free travel for the vehicular traffic, and then they will stop then when somebody wants to cross the street there at Pine at that raised table. And we documented over 2,600 inspection photos. As I was going through the construction files, I noted that, and the reason that's important is because we took so many photos so that if we ever dig it up again, we can see what was put back there. And we knew how it was done, how it was put together, what we took out as well. And so that kind of goes into our record drawing archives, and it'll be there for the future. We had built a dedicated bicycle lane for all but the last block there between Kamiakin and Grand. And that was one of our multimodal goals, was to add that kind of a facility into the project. We also added the ability to accommodate more outdoor spaces for the businesses. We heard from the community that this was important. We built bigger sidewalks. We allowed for the businesses to be able to use those sidewalks with revisions to the right-of-way use codes, if you remember that a couple months ago. We reduced the potential for flooding in the project. We added bigger stormwater pipes. We added the ability for the water to flow kind of one direction to the river and not back up the pipes. So that was a big improvement there, where we saw the benefits of that during the high water event in February, where we didn't have any localized flooding in the downtown core, just moved the bridge. We noted, and you'll see in the consent agenda later on, we knew we were going to run into some contaminated soil, and we did. And we found it in several spots. Just the Chevron site alone was 526 tons, or 438 cubic yards. But we got that out of there. It's no longer there. That part of it we had to remove as we put our underground utilities in. One of the best things is that there's no indebtedness to the city or the community for this project. As Jeff will get to in a minute, we invested a little bit of money and got a huge return on our investment on this. And that kind of goes into the difficulty for the construction. We went through 10 months of construction to get 75 years or 900 months of return in those utilities. That's a 90-to-1 return rate on that side of it, if you looked at that just alone. And from the contractor's perspective, we had no safety incidents, which is huge. For those 20,000 hours that they put into the project, and have no reportable safety incidents was just amazing for us. If you remember also, Kurt just mentioned one of those statistics, 2773 was the number of plant materials there, and that's amazing too. I don't think I've ever been on a public works road project that's put in that much landscaping in one time. So it's just pretty impressive, and just turned out really beautiful this spring. Another thing that we did as part of the project, if you recall, we added in some of the changes that we pulled out from the base bid. We added them in as change orders and supplemental bids and everything else. One of the things we pulled out was the Walk of Fame monuments. And my understanding is that we're putting those back in the Cougar Plaza area. I'm not on that project right now, but those will be added back in the Cougar Plaza area. And, you know, this is, like I said, it's one of the largest capital improvement projects the city's done that probably will benefit, you know, generations going forward on this. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to talk about the financial summary.
So what I'm going to share to you is where we're at financially. There's a few things that still haven't finally closed out. We're not expecting any big things. You know, as Sean and I talked throughout the project, once we got the underground work done, we were kind of done with the surprises. So it got much easier to start to project where things were going to finish after that. So this is through actual expenses through April 30th. That was the last pay submitted. We're currently reviewing the May pay submittal from the contractors. So I don't anticipate much change to these at this point. So if you remember back on February 2024 is when this was a approved project. And at that point, we presented the original project expenses to be about $12 million. A little under $3 million of that was professional services. So that's all of our design, engineering, permits, construction management, testing, all of those kind of things to make the project go. The actual construction, so what was actually for the true construction was just under $9 million with a $100,000 contingency. So that's where that $12 million was established. It is also worth noting that on that original bid, we did decline some ad alternates originally due to some cost concerns. Those were related to things like benches, wayfinding, bike racks, planters, and those types of things. So those were chosen not to add into the project at that point at tune of about $250,000. So where are we going to end up at? So that professional services and supplies right now is projected to be a little over $3.1 million. Again, additional services needed for either redesign, additional testing, any additional permits, any of those additional services that might have needed had. The original construction actually comes in a little less, and that's actually people kind of don't always understand why that is. There's a lot of things in the contract where they will bid out X amount of pipe or X amount of whatever. If they don't use that much, that savings comes back to the city. So they, again, with a very underground project, they were kind of trying to estimate some things, and some things came in under. So that original construction dollar amount is actually less. We did do 6 change orders throughout the project. First one is that enhancement. So those things that we declined initially because of financial concerns, we put back in. Again, the benches, the wayfinding, those types of things. There's a little asterisk there, and that's because there's some revenue attached to that. So there's some revenue that tied that I'll talk on my next slide about the revenue gains. So those expenses were covered with a revenue source that wasn't originally anticipated. There was some public feedback that was done on change order 2. This is some things regarding the bike lanes, lining of the parking spaces, a few adjustments to trees and sidewalks. So that was a small change order done just based off of some public feedback. There was a change order to Pine Street Plaza that resulted in no cost, and that was just changing from reusing the brick to new brick. Change order number 4 was some unanticipated work, underground work. The majority of this change order, not 100% of it, but the majority of it is what Sean referenced was the contaminated soil removal. That was much more extensive than originally thought it was going to be. Again, you're going to hear in a little bit that there's some revenue that goes to offset that cost. Number 5, again, was various utility service work. So there was some utility service work underneath that couldn't have been expected. It was underground, so it was hard to anticipate. As well as number 6 was some additional paving, electrical, and underground work. So again, change orders 4, 5, and 6 were related to things that were underground. At the end of the day, it's a little under $580,000 in change orders that were executed with, again, the $250,000 being those enhancements and the majority of that $137,000 being the contaminated soil. So at the end of the day, the cost increased from what we started with in February of 2024 to where we're looking to project to end. It's a little bit less than a 3% increase in the cost related to the project. So let's talk a little bit about the funding. So again, when we came to council with the project, this is what we came for in funding. $9.5 million was state, local, fiscal recovery funds. A lot of people call these COVID funds. What these are, this is funds as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, and there's various criteria for what you could use these funds for. But one of the ones that was done was replacement of infrastructure and sustained economic growth, and that's the qualification we went for. We received about a little over $9.6 million in that federal funding. $120,000 was used to support the Downtown Pullman Association to get them kicked off the ground. The other $9.5 million was dedicated to this project. At that point, we identified a little over $1.4 million of city utility funds that we were able to use. And then we had identified about $1 million of other city funds. We were still kind of waiting to see how the project played out to determine exactly which city funds would be used and how we would prioritize that within the budget. So again, you see the $12 million revenue source. So out of this, the original plan was about 80% of the project would be funded through some type of grant funding. In this case, the SLFRF funds. So where did we actually end up? Well, the money for the COVID money was set. That was determined, and that's seen there. What you're going to see come out of the city funds, again, primarily utility, maybe a little bit of street, is just a little over $1.4 million. We did receive a TIB, Transportation Improvement Grant. That was a $1 million. And the reason you see that asterisk there is one of the contingencies of getting that grant was doing the $250,000 of enhancements that you saw on the previous slide. That was change order number 1. So part of what we got this grant for included the benches, the wayfinding, the bike racks, those types of things. So we covered that $250,000 and then basically applied the other $750,000 to the project. We did receive 2 grants that totaled $300,000 on the .09 rural county grants. So this is a way for tax dollars to be recovered to use for projects in rural counties. And then one of the things you'll see on the agenda later tonight is a recovery for the cost of removing that contaminated soil from Chevron. And we're going to recover, pending the approval from council tonight, we'll recover just under $113,000. So basically recover the costs related to that contaminated soil. So that's how we come to about the $12.3 million in funding to cover the project. What that does is with the TIB grants and the rural county grants, that takes the percentage of grant funding from a little under 80 to over 87%, and actually reduces the amount that we're going to need from city funding by almost $1 million. So there is some positive change there in the impacts of that. And of course, as Sean said, one of the nice things is to do a $12 million project without any debt is always something that makes the finance director feel pretty good inside. So.
The next thing I wanted to touch on a little bit here is the schedule. And one of the things that was brought up was, well, you're behind schedule, and it's tough for any project of this magnitude to be on schedule from when it was originally planned. This spreadsheet is a little complex. It looks simple, but it is actually a little complex, so I'll kind of walk through it there. When we started the project, the contract had an original start date of April 1st. And from there, we outlined a specific number of working days that established milestone number 1, substantial completion and physical completion. So we had 137 working days that was established, which got us to that October 15th date. And then if you added in the substantial completion date, we gave them 151 working days, which would have calculated out to the November 1st. And then 165 working days, which would have calculated out from the base contract to November 20th. Now, milestone 1 was when Main Street was to be open to vehicles, all lanes open to vehicles at that time. During the project, as Jeff just said, we had 6 different change orders, and those change orders were for various reasons. We had to give the contractor additional working days to do some of that work. And so as an example, one of them added 9.5 working days, another one added another 9.5 working days. And so when you started adding all those up, plus the contract original schedule was based, those dates were based on a contractor working 5 days a week as their working days. If you recall, the contractor kind of late in the project started working on Saturdays as well. And so we started counting working days from what they call their estimated working day schedules. And some of those weeks they worked over holidays like Juneteenth. Some of them they worked on Saturdays. And so it wasn't just a true 5-day work week for them. Some of them were 6. And so as you calculated out the number of added working days and the number of days they actually worked, the actual days they did physical work, the calculated schedule for those came out to, milestone 1 was November 13th, substantial completion December 9th, and physical completion was calculated to be January 7th. Now the actual schedule, when they actually completed those milestones, they hit milestone 1 right on the button on November 13th. Substantial completion, December 6th was a Friday, December 9th was a Monday, so they beat it by 1 day. They didn't have a working day on that Saturday, so that was one of them they didn't. Now physical completion is a little bit different. There is Physical completion is when they got all the punch list items done, they got all of the light poles put in and everything else. There were some things that were out of the contractor's control, and the contract was written so that there were no penalties on physical completion. It was primarily due to the stuff that was out of their control, like some of the light, street light poles, power cabinets, some of the equipment in those cabinets, and stuff like that, as well as plant survival over the winter with some of those things. And we pulled them back as well because of that. There were some things that we didn't want them doing in the winter because of those things. If you recall, the contract had clauses in there for liquidated damages and for incentive awards. The liquidated damages were originally $3,000 a day for not hitting milestone 1. Because we gave them additional working days, that changed the date. It changed it to that November 13. So they hit that November 13. There were no liquidated damages as a result. Conversely, there are no incentive days either because of that. They didn't beat November 13th. And the substantial completion and physical completion were not tied to any liquidated damages, nor were they with the incentive awards. So hopefully that understands the schedule a little bit. Now that the two dates in there that I have periods after, the November 13 and December 9, when we originally published the agenda, there was a presentation that went out, and those dates were incorrect. These dates that you're seeing here are correct, and I just wanted to highlight that those were the two dates that were changed from the presentation that was pushed on Thursday or Friday to the one that's there today. Just verifying the accuracy on that. So Welsh Comer added a camera on the Evolve building during construction, and this is kind of a neat little fun 2-minute video that is a time lapse for the entire project, kind of from Evolve. You'll see it's kind of scattered as we get going at first, but then it looks back west towards Main Street, and you'll kind of see how the project evolved over the 10-month period. With some really cool music. And as you can see there, we've got traffic rolling on the streets, we've got street signs up, everything's kind of done in that one wrap up there. So, no. To conclude, I would like to give a shout out to Matt Gillis, Courtney Kramer, and the team at Welsh Comer and their partnership with the city for helping us to design and manage this massive project, and for our contractor at Apollo as well. So We couldn't have done it without either one of them. We had a great contractor, we had a great design team, and wanted to also give credit to Clayton Forsman, the Deputy Public Works Director. He basically ran the project from staff's perspective, from our team as well. So with that, Jeff and I are willing to take any questions you might have. Thank you.
Councilmember DeLira.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have one question. So it sounds like property owners can install a fire line in the future. And if another fire line has to be installed between the main line and the private property, what would that process look like?
Yeah, so there were 3 property owners. There were a bunch that expressed interest at the beginning, and it wound up being that 3 of them decided to pull the trigger and get that done. So the properties are set up for future connections. If another one wants to do that in the future, they would come down to Public Works and hire a design engineer, work with us on how to connect that in. It usually involves a new tap on the main line, maybe some inline valves depending on where their location is, and then excavation in the street, digging up the sidewalk, digging up what we just put in, unfortunately, and all at their cost at that point. Yep.
Councilmember Weller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, a downtown project or some emphasis for the downtown, I think it's been discussed since about 2010, if I remember, as almost as long as I have been on council. And I know the tipped sidewalks were talked about for, Jesus, 8 years or something. I think it would be interesting to see the amount of time Apollo spent checking in on downtown businesses, because I know Sam Dials, when there was an event down there, and he said they were in almost every day checking in with him. I know there's been a lot of things said in the community, a lot of challenges that the staff has faced, frankly. A lot of challenges the businesses also have faced in the downtown. And we've talked a lot about that. I don't think we've really talked as much about how much stress the staff has been put under. And maybe that's not super popular for me to discuss, and maybe I'm on the chopping block next time I come around, but that's okay for me. I think the staff did amazing and tried to integrate, Welch Comer tried to integrate all of the changes that they possibly could. And the staff did as well. Those change orders, those came from the community. That came from the council deciding, yeah, okay, we know it's going to be more expensive, but this is what the community wants. So we're going to do this. And we were told it's going to take more time. It's going to take more money. So, yeah, okay, it may not be popular out there in the community for me to say this, but staff did awesome. Welch Comer did awesome. And as somebody, I was having coffee with a CEO coming in from Seattle, and he was looking at it, he's like, wow, this is really impressive. I said, well, you know, it depends on who you talk to. And he said, well, of course it's going to be like that. It's an investment. It's an investment in the future. It's going to be a pain at the beginning. And I know, you know, people are going to say different. I will say I also had my own misgivings, and I spoke harshly with Welch Comer at the beginning. I was a major tree advocate and was just about ready to die on the hill for that. But I'm really impressed at how staff has handled things, even though it was an extremely difficult time. And something I had mentioned, and it was actually earlier in the chamber meeting today, is leadership is really determined not when things are the best, but when things are the worst. And so I want to thank you, Sean, rest of the staff that was involved, the mayor as well, because I don't think people quite understand how long we've been wanting to do this, council after council after council. And I've talked to people from other cities, even Moscow, several elected officials said, I wish we had the money and ability to do this. And I don't think people also realize that the potential, and I was less about the infrastructure, I was more about the sidewalks, but the potential for a broken pipe and then shutting down all of Main Street regardless and having to do this. That was high. We've had broken pipes all over the city. So I know it's a challenging time for people to hear some of those words, but I do believe moving forward, it'll speak for itself. And if I'm wrong, all right, vote me out. But thank you so much for what you've done.
Councilmember Wright?
I know that this is just a very brief snapshot of everything that was involved, and you did a great wrap-up of it, but I can only imagine, and knowing all of the things that continue to go on behind the scenes has just been amazing, and the fact that we were able to get through it in a reasonable amount of time was absolutely incredible. And thank you all who were involved. But having said that, now that essentially the project is done, I think we need to continue to be sensitive to those businesses that were affected and continue to be affected by the fact that downtown was closed for a period of time and people got out of the habit of going downtown and visiting those businesses along Main Street. And we just need to continue to promote that. We have a wonderful Main Street. It's the gateway to the rest of our community, and I just ask all of the community to participate as much as they can by visiting all of those businesses downtown and across the community. Everybody needs our help, and I just think it's important that we continue to emphasize that. So, thank you.
Councilmember Parks?
Thank you. Yeah, I will definitely second what Councilmember Wright said, and the Chamber has an ad right now that says, the dollars you spend in Pullman stay in Pullman, and they support people and projects and things for our community. So that's always something to remember. I also wanted to mention Councilmember Weller mentioned the decision that was made to use the American Rescue Plan funds in this way. And through some work with the Association of Washington Cities, I've spoken with many mayors and council members across the state, and they did really wonderful projects like childcare and law enforcement and whatever their community needed. But every single one of them said, you redid your whole downtown, your whole Main Street? And it was like, yeah, we did. And then we would show them pictures or whatever. And I think that as much pain as many people felt, I agree with the philosophy that this is not just for today. This is for a very long time. This will make things much easier for business owners who don't have to worry about sewage backing up into their businesses anymore and having to close while that's remediated. Things like that. And finally, I just really appreciate the financial and the schedule summary, because I know there are still a lot of questions out there about how much it cost and why did it cost what it did and why did it go past schedule. And I think this explanation on both sides from you gentlemen has really just clarified it in numbers. There's no interpretation here. These are the numbers, and we did get full explanation for both of those. So I very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other? I'm not seeing anything. So with that, thank you very much. Great presentation. It's a project to be proud of. Next item is a consent agenda. These items listed on the consent agenda are to be considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion by the City Council without separate discussion. With that, I'd entertain a motion to read the consent agenda by title only.
Individual discussion.
By title only.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With that, if you could read the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1 is a motion to dispense with the reading of the special meeting minutes of May 13, 2025, and approve them as submitted. Item 2 is a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-30585 through 2011-30652, totaling $468,129.21. Item 3, a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-30669 through 2011-30772, totaling $487,011.18. Item 4, a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-30773 through 2011-30850, totaling $449,049.96. Item 5, a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-30851 through 2011-30901, totaling $254,059.17. Item 6, a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable payroll checks number 2011-30653 through 2011-30668, and payroll electronic transfers number 284 through 289 and 292 through 299, totaling $1,741,360.50. Sorry, let me scroll down. Item 7, motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable payroll checks number 2011-30902 through 2011-30908, and payroll electronic transfers number 301 through 310, 313, 315, 317, 318, and 320 through 323, totaling $1,257,338.08. Item 8, a motion to approve disbursements for electronic wire transfers number 311, 312, 314, 316, and 319, totaling $213,413.67. Item 9, a motion to approve disbursements for electronic wire transfers number 300 through 306, totaling $9,632.19. Item 10 is a motion authorizing SEL Engineering Services, Inc. to install a metering station on the electric bus chargers in the transit garage located at 775 Northwest Guy Street. Item 11, a motion to authorize lodging tax grant to Palouse Summer Series for an amount up to $66,832.67 for the 2025 Palouse Summer Series. Item 12, resolution number R-17-25, a resolution adopting proposed route changes to the public transportation system effective August 17, 2025 for the 2025-2026 service year.
So I've had requests for one motion for item 10 to be pulled out. Are there any other items that a council member would like to be pulled out to voted on separately? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda 1 through 9 and 11 through 12.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not,
Okay, so.
no, when we get to 10, we'll do that one.
It's
So we're
different.
doing the first ones.
Oh, wait, I'm commenting on something different.
Oh, so a discussion on one of these, yes.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of exciting things happening to the transit system. If members of the public already haven't sifted through the consent agenda item related to the transit system changes. Some highlights include the campus route, getting a second bus and providing service to the south side of campus. The Apartment Land Express and campus route service will be extended until 7:45 p.m., and the airport shuttle will be made more efficient as a response to its current usage. So I just wanted to say well done to Pullman Transit and Wayne Thompson. And I'm happy to support these upcoming changes. I would also like to thank, and I hope I'm pronouncing this name right, Kalis LLC for their pro bono study on our public transit system. And I thought that report was really helpful. So thank you.
Great. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify for approval of items 1 through 9 and 11 through 12. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And with that, motion 10, Councilmember DeLira.
So since this item involves a proposal from my employer, SCL, to City of Pullman, I will be abstaining from the vote. So
with that, I'd entertain a motion on item number 10.
Move to adopt item number 10 on the consent agenda.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Here.
And so record one abstention. With that, next item is item M, the public hearing. And with that, R.J. Lott, our Community Development Director, on the first item is a public hearing on the proposed 6-year capital improvement program.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This item on the agenda, as mentioned by the Mayor, is a public hearing for the 6-year 2026 through 2031 capital improvement program. This is a forward-looking document outlining the City of Pullman's capital improvement and replacement strategy. This program organizes project by city department and fund to match the expected needs of Pullman that are subject to funding constraints. Matching funding with individual CIP projects has reached a critical juncture. Please note that on each project sheet, which is included in your packet for this evening, there are one of 3 responses for funding and the funding field. One is 100% city funds, one is grant dependent, and one is grant funded. So the CIP process and schedule is very similar to as it was last year. So how did we get to this evening? On Monday, April 7th, staff produced a draft CIP document, which was posted to the city website, emailed to members of the CIP committee, Planning Commission, and to the City Council. On May 7th, the CIP committee met an open public meeting to discuss the proposed documents. Thank you to Council members Wright and Fajarin for participating. On Wednesday, May 28th, the Planning Commission met in an open public meeting here at City Hall Council Chambers to discuss the proposed document and to issue a recommendation to the City Council. You'll see draft Planning Commission minutes in your packet for this evening. And that brings us to tonight, June 10th, where the City Council will take public comment on the CIP, the proposed document. This is the only opportunity for public comment throughout the process. A week from tonight, I'll be back bringing forward the proposed CIP for final action to be taken by the City Council. So with that, is there or are there any questions I can answer at this time?
So that first is City Council. With that, Councilmember Weller.
So I was interested in the welcome LED reader board. So I think this is, very interesting. I know it's been talked about a little bit. Seems like a lot of money for a reader board. I mean, is this something we need? Does the CIP committee, I'd really like to hear what the feelings are with a welcome reader board. We have a welcome sign as we're coming in through Colfax. We have a welcome sign coming in from Lewiston Clarkston. Kind of interested in this because that's a crap ton of money.
Sorry, are you asking members from the CIP?
CIP committee, yeah.
Do you mind, Pat, if I recall correctly, that's under the administration, one of the administration projects that's been on the CIP for a while. How I see kind of my role, at least before I reach the planning department, is to kind of just take an overall look of how the process was done. I asked some questions about certain grant-dependent projects. However, I wanted to, this is coming back to the council after the hearing, and so I feel like that would be an appropriate time for us to discuss if we want to decide alternatives funding, or if we find a place where we think that that RETA board money would be better placed. For example, we received an email from Ned Warnick, which I hope can be entered in the public testimony. They're asking for funds for the historic Red Brick Road's historic designation pedestal. So that might be an option if the council wants to divert some of those RETA board funds that I would support. Does that help answer your question?
Councilmember Weller, to give you history on the RETA board has been on this list for a number of years. It actually got placed there based on city council setting of goals, where the city council said that they wanted to have more communication to the community, and this RETA board was that opportunity. And so it's designed to be able to communicate to the community when there's community events that are happening, to be able to help welcome people to the town, things like this. So that's what the RETA board was part of council goals around communication.
Can I respond? Yeah. I understand that we've discussed it. I understand in goal setting, one of our goals was enhanced communication. In goal setting, it was not, to my memory, and I'm getting older, have a reader board. I'm not on the CIP committee now. I was for a while. And to my memory, it hasn't been on for the last 5 years, or at least maybe it was 5 years ago, but I don't recall this, and it seems pretty, in 2027, that's coming up pretty soon, and I know there's a lot of other projects that were pushed back. So I'm like, I trust the CIP committee, I trust our staff, but I also feel that there are other ways in order to communicate to the community that doesn't take that amount of money, that could be done a little bit more strategically. So I just guess I know this is one of the ideas that was discussed. I'm wrestling with this because I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and so if you think about the CIP process, this is something that actually went on the CIP many years ago as a part of goal setting that happened multiple years ago. It's kind of similar to, there's an item on there for High Street, but it's a couple years in, but it's because of this year's city council. With that, I think, Jeff.
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't have last year's CIP in front of me. I believe this had previously been identified as a 2026 project. As staff talked about it, they wanted more time to evaluate both the costs and the need for it, but didn't feel it was something that should be pulled off. So that's why it was pushed out to 2027. So that would allow staff more time and the council more time to evaluate the need as well as the cost. So I think you raised some good points, and I think that's an opportunity we should take advantage to do before next year.
Okay, so, well, to the first point, I've been involved in all of the goal setting, so I understand what you were saying, Mr. Mayor. As far as the reader board, is this something that can be pulled off? Is this at a later date? Is this something that right now we're just hearing about it, and then our next meeting we can discuss changing it, as Councilmember Fajarin had mentioned, possibly? I'm only one council member, so I'm just addressing, I'm trying to have questions for my concern.
This would be the meeting to do changes. What Councilmember Fajarin was saying is that we have a discussion, we then open up for public testimony, and then we have another discussion.
Okay.
And he was referencing that second discussion tonight.
Gotcha.
So if it's something that you would like to see removed, it can be removed from the CIP. If it's something that you would like delayed, it could be delayed. With that, Councilmember Fajarin?
More just, am I able to reply to the
please.
Councilmember? Thank you, Councilmember Weller, for those comments. I'm more than willing to work with you for alternative project for those funds if we can find one. So let's talk in between here and next council meeting.
Councilmember DeLira? So any other? Councilmember Fajarin?
Yeah, just one more. I referenced this earlier. Chair of the Historic Preservation Committee emailed us today. Will this be submitted to the official documents for the public testimony? All right, thank you.
Councilmember Parks? Oh. Any other? Not seeing any other questions from City Council. I'm then going to open this up for the public hearing. So if anybody has any comments that they'd like to make on, and this is the CIP, we will have a second public hearing that is on the Transportation Improvement Program next on the agenda. So with this, any comments, and with that?
Good evening. My name is Cindy Kotanda-Raman, 410 SW Crestview Street, Condo A1, Pullman, Washington. I'm also running for City Council, and I want to preface my comments that I understand that people work really hard, and I think there's good things happening. However, I'm not asking you to be woke. I'm asking you to be awake. And the difference between the two is that we really need a paradigm shift. It's really important from what I've been listening to tonight. I don't think it is intentional, whatever. I think it's really just a lack of conscious awareness of what 50% of Pullman's residents face 6 years post-COVID. So I'm going to start with an advisory to City Council, and I'm glad your attorney's here, and I'm glad he just...
Mayor, I don't know if this is on point and whether this is actually campaigning.
I need you, so are you addressing a specific item within the CIP?
This item right here, that if this council approves the CIP and TIP as drafted tonight, you are knowingly endorsing a plan that contravenes Washington's Growth Management Act, fails to uphold early and continuous public participation, which he just admitted to, RCW 36.7A.140, and it also undermines national health equity goals, which is a separate point, because approximately 50% of Pullman residents did not have under RCW in compliance with the Growth Management Act any process that meets compliance. And we have case law. Under the Kennedy campaign, I was personally involved with the people who ran the Spokane Neighborhood Group. They have case law with GMA why this process is completely out of line. If you vote for this tonight, you can expect a Washington State Growth Management Hearings Board complaint under RCW 36.70A.140 for failure to ensure meaningful public participation as defined in Spokane versus the Eastern Washington Growth Management Board. Okay? And again, it is not my point to challenge any, good intentions here, but they are not compliant with the law. I am a senior citizen on a fixed income. I have a limited family. My son graduated from Pullman High School in 2023. He worked really hard through COVID to get his scholarship to college, to be a straight A student. He has built a small community with the LDS people here. When I'm gone, my great-grandchildren, my grandchildren, my son are gonna live and work here. And this is why I'm coming out, okay? But we have to change the paradigm. I have sent you my notes, and if you vote for this tonight, I swear, and as soon as the permits come through for Pullman Regional Hospital, their expansion is gonna be shut down too.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that has any comments, any public comments on the CIP? Is there anyone else that has any comments on the CIP? I have to say this 3 times, just so you know. So, is there anyone else that have any public comments for the CIP? Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. And with that, we're going to back to the City Council. Do you have any additional questions for staff related to this or direction that you'd like to provide staff? With that, Councilmember Weller?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry.
Oh,
I did. I was.
You're fine.
Yeah,
You're
sorry.
fine.
So I think, you know, I feel that I don't feel comfortable passing CIP with that particular piece in there.
So as a clarification, we're not voting on anything tonight. This is just the public hearing. Next week
Okay.
is when the vote would happen.
Okay, all right, all right, all right.
I'm not seeing any others, so we'll end. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Delera.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, in terms of process, if we wanted to remove a project and there's an allocated number of dollars to it, is that freed up money, or is that still something that we have to allocate based off of funding and a grant? Or I don't know if that makes sense.
And I would probably, I'll wait for Jeff to finish here. It kind of depends on where the funding with that project is related to, whether, and there may be, and with the project, and I don't want to speak for, I'll let Jeff speak, but it may be that the project is designated and you can only assign it within a certain line. You can't just take it and put it somewhere else because the different colors of money. So with that, Jeff. So the question had to do with if they were to request for a project to be removed from the CIP, what are the options related to those dollars that are proposed in the CIP?
That would tend entirely on what the project is that was being removed, as well as the new potential project. So in some cases, that's possible. In some cases, it might not be. So it would just really depend on what the projects are.
And we do have, within this, the projects that got proposed, we were not able to fund all of those. And so I would actually recommend we'd look to those but do you have a project in mind? Let's start there. Okay. So.
Just trying to follow up with Nathan's proposal, seeing how that practically.
And I think the reader board is actually proposed out, so it doesn't affect specific money that would be spent next year. Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure that people understand I don't have necessarily any project. It's just, I know, look, we're facing some big challenges here in Pullman, financial, it's going to get a little bit worse, I think. And so it's not necessarily, I know there's monies for CIP and so on, but this is just something that, for me, seems a little bit like frosting. And so I don't necessarily have any projects. I just want to make sure people understand that. So
Jeff, do you want to talk some about, as we went through the CIP process, how you determined from the budget side how much money we had available in 2026, which then determined, you know, why there's a certain dollar amount that's there in 2026, and those are the projects that have been assigned.
Yeah, so various projects have various funding sources, and I actually think this one, I believe, actually was listed as a multiple funding source, I think, because I think there's even some consideration of outside funds on that. But obviously, we looked at fund balances for all the funds, as well as then kind of projecting that out. I think one thing to keep in mind is really then what we're asking ultimately of this document is the 2026 piece of that will be done as a budget amendment. Everything beyond 2026 is still subject to funding, and that's part of the reason we do the process every year. That's why you see some things move out, is because it can't be funded, or sometimes it gets reevaluated for other reasons that you're bringing up. So it's really important that this really is from a budget side. This is really, we do it for planning, long-term planning, but the actual budget impact for budget will be 2026 only. Next year's CIP then will affect 2027's budget and so forth. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind of the process. You're not necessarily committing these dollars beyond 26 at this point.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jeff, especially informing other people. I was on the CIP for about 8 years. I understand the process. I understand the, and all of this. So, but I appreciate you letting other people know as well. So, but yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we'll end item 1 of the public hearing. We're going to go to item 2 of the public hearing. This is the public hearing on the 6-year transportation improvement program. And with that, R.J. Lott again.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening once again, Council. The 2026 through 2031 Transportation Improvement Program is a subset of the Capital Improvement Program. Went through the same process as the CIP, as I mentioned just a moment ago. A couple of extra requirements to this, that the Transportation Improvement Program is due to the State Department of Transportation by July 1st. So that is one of the reasons why we've put together a schedule the way that it is, so that we can get that to them in a timely fashion. With that, any questions I can answer on the 2026 to 2031 TIP?
Any questions from council? Seeing none, I'll then open the public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak in the public hearing related to the 6-year transportation improvement program?
Okay, on the issue of the TIP, everything previously said, except I'd like to also point out that this TIP as presented claims that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. However, your comprehensive plan is out of date and relies on over 10-year-old data. The city of Pullman cannot rely on the current county community health needs assessment, and transportation is considered a social determinant of health. Our whole planning framework efforts now needs to be, this one was outsourced to a partial planning jurisdiction in Whitman County, and it failed to meet GMA's RCW 36.78.140 requirements for early and continuous public participation. I understand that's one of the goals of the city council. However, the city still neglected to develop its own valid process, and it leaves a gap in social determinants of health planning, in this case transportation, and it blocks equitable community-based health initiatives. Because now, in order to meet various data, which we have grounds to go to HHS and OCR, specifically, and other processes, including the Growth Management Board, because now you have to consider social determinants of health studies before you implement transportation projects. in communities. And any portion of the TIP that reference or indirectly references various data, it has to be through this RCW regulation under the Growth Management Act. And in Spokane County versus EWG MHB, the implications for this are that Washington courts have reaffirmed that RCW 3678-140 requires early and continuous public participation. This is like almost, again, at the end of the process. It means meaningful, real community engagement, not just notices, not just committee hearings, not just a city council two-part public hearing. And so your process did not meet this standard because they exclude meaningful input from very low income and extremely low income people, LS households, fixed income seniors, and those below HUD's family median income for this area at 98 to 100K. Then we disaggregate by how these things impact various cohorts, like race, sex, LGBTQ, and all the rest. So you have federal and state accountability gaps. And so what I just want to say is that I was also refused to comment at the meeting prior to this, and I was sent a link that I could listen. And my previous comments were partial testimony beforehand because I was shut down for me being able to participate in that process, which violates RCW 3678.140, and including that we need a paradigm shift. I found this problem in every single area of decision-making on this council. And you need to raise your consciousness. If I don't win Ward 1, I am going to write you a personal
you're now campaigning.
contract to hire me as your compliance officer.
Mayor, can you
and
enforce
trainer.
the?
Okay? It's
So
not
thank you for
compliant.
your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to provide public comments on the TIP? Is there anyone else that would like to provide comments on the TIP? I need to finish the public. Is there anyone else that would like to provide public comments on the TIP? With that, I'll close the public hearing and now go back to City Council questions to staff. With that, Eric Fajarin.
Just point of clarification, Mayor. Candidates who are running for office cannot use City Council as a platform to benefit their campaign. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? If not seeing them, we'll finish with this agenda item. Thank you very much. The next item is regular agenda. The first one is ordinance 2510. And with that, Jeff, I'll let you.
Sure. We bring forward to you Ordinance 2510. This is an ordinance codifying the Board of Trustees within the City Code for the Neal Public Library. You've heard some comments already about this tonight, so I'll certainly answer any other questions you may have.
With that, and first of all, I'll say it's definitely been a pleasure working with the Board of Trustees as we've worked through this process. And I'm glad that after 102 years, this has, when I found out when I became mayor that we didn't have this, that's one of the things I've been working on. Thank you. So with that, Councilmember Weller.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. And actually, that was what I was going to say. Having been on the library board, I'm very glad Ann is there. This has been a goal for such a long time, and Mr. Mayor, I think it cannot be overstated how important it is. You made the step and put it through, and I know the library board has been trying for such a long time, so I really appreciate it. And I don't know if the community will realize exactly how important this is, but it really is. And thank you for that. Thank you for the library board for continuing to push it through and being patient, but also persevering. So thank you both. Thank you.
Anyone else? With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to adopt ordinance number 2510.
Second.
With that, if you could read the ordinance, please.
Yes, thank you. Ordinance number 25-10, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pullman, Whitman County, Washington, relating to the powers, duties, and terms of the Neal Public Library Board of Trustees, adding a new chapter 1.51, Neal Public Library Board of Trustees, to the Pullman City Code and other matters properly related thereto.
With that, any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. You should be happy. Okay, thank you. Next up, Resolution R1825. And with that, we have Clayton Forsman, our Deputy Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Tonight, as you listened to Jeff and Sean, they talked about contaminated soil downtown. So this resolution before you is regarding that. Last summer, when we were doing the underground installation work downtown, we encountered petroleum contaminated soils near the service station at 485 East Main Street. These soils had to be tested and hauled to an approved disposal facility. This extra work was tracked daily and documented for future reimbursement by Chevron, who is the responsible party for said contamination. The direct costs associated with this extra work totaled just below $113,000. Chevron and the city have prepared the attached settlement agreement, which will provide the city with a full reimbursement for those costs. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
With that, any questions? If not, I would say great job. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to adopt resolution R18-25.
Second.
With that, if you could read the resolution, please.
Yes. Resolution number R-18-25, a resolution authorizing the execution of a settlement agreement and release between the City of Pullman and Chevron Environmental Management Company for contaminated soil removal associated with the Pullman Downtown Improvements Project.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It
Thank you.
passes. Thank you. Aye. Next up, Kara, you have a few coming up. So this first one's Resolution 19-25.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, City Council. Before you tonight are two resolutions associated with our potable water distribution system. Both resolutions stem from the culmination of a fairly involved and lengthy process to update our water system plan in accordance with state law and Washington Department of Health requirements. Updates are required every 10 years, with the previous plan update adopted in 2015. The city hired RH2 Engineering out of Richland, Washington to help us complete this latest water system plan update, and I'm pleased to have Ryan Withers of RH2 Engineering here with us remotely this evening. Ryan has served us as the project manager on this project since its inception and has been instrumental to the process and getting us to the point that we're at today. I'll hand it off to him in a moment, and he will provide a brief presentation in regards to this first action item, resolution number R1925, which addresses establishment and adoption of water use efficiency goals for the city of Pullman. Please note that Chapter 4 of the Water System Plan Update focuses specifically on the city's water use efficiency program and goals. These goals, as presented therein and proposed tonight, consider feedback and comments from 2 outreach opportunities, including a city council presentation and discussion in 2021 and a public forum held in 2024. and I'm now going to let Ryan speak about the WE program and goals in particular, after which we'll be available to answer any questions you might have. Following this, staff does recommend that City Council formally adopt the proposed water use efficiency goals, and I'll pass it off to Ryan.
Thanks, Kara. Can you confirm that my PowerPoint shows up there?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for this opportunity. Again, Ryan Withers with RH2 Engineering, and this will be a very high-level overview of both your current water use efficiency program and the proposed goals through the year 2033. So let's start with, why do we have a water use efficiency program? Beyond the fact that using water efficiently is something that might seem intuitive from an environmental perspective and to keep your own water bills low, as of 2003, it became a requirement in the state of Washington. So the water use efficiency rule is part of the municipal water law, and it applies to all cities as well as larger community water systems within the state, with the goal to reduce, protect, and prolong the state's water resources and supplies. So with that defined, let's look back in time to see how Pullman compares to peers on both a regional and a statewide level. And what you can see in this chart is the average demand on a per day basis per person for the last 15 to 20 years or so for both your system and a number of other water systems. So Pullman is the larger blue dots on the chart, and the other systems in the region, such as Colfax, Moscow, Spokane, and Cheney are included, as are some other systems throughout both central and western Washington for reference. Without digging too much into this chart, in short, the symbols closer to the bottom of the chart represent less water used per person, which is generally good in terms of water conservation. And we're somewhat intentional here without a lot of distinction between the different gray colors of the other systems, but I really want the takeaway here to be that the blue dots that represent Pullman's system are very, very low. And really the only system consistently lower than Pullman is actually the city of Seattle, which has the benefit of significantly higher population density, more rain, cooler summers, smaller lots and yards. So really the point is, your system is already using water very efficiently. So kudos to everybody involved who's gotten you to this point. And really, I want to take a minute to describe how you did get to this point. So I've summarized the ongoing water use efficiency efforts of the city here. Some of them at the top of this chart, or top of the slide, I should say, they have quantifiable water savings, such as toilet rebates or faucet replacements, as well as the seasonal irrigation schedule that you implement. And there are also some efforts that are very likely contributing to low water use, but are more difficult to quantify, as shown at the bottom of the slide. So those are things like conservation tips or historic consumption being shown in your customers' water bills, right? They likely help keep water use down, but it's really difficult to quantify how much more efficiently each customer or an average customer is using their water based on receiving these tips or historical water use information in their bills. So as we look forward for the next 5 or 10 years, we really just don't want to be satisfied with where we are, having relatively low water demand per capita, because there's always room for improvement. So this updated water use efficiency program proposes to continue to make incremental progress towards lowering your consumption, even as we may start to reach diminishing returns on how low the demand per capita can go, but we don't get there if we don't try. So the 3 goals, which are not binding in any way, but the 3 goals that are included in this proposed water use efficiency program are shown here in order. The first goal is to reduce the per capita demand by another 3 gallons per day, again, that's per person, by the year 2033. So to put this into perspective, if that goal is fully achieved, by the year 2033, you would be using 100,000 gallons per day less as a water system than you would if you maintain your current, again, already low usage. And so between now and 2033, again, if this goal is fully achieved, that would save you 183 million gallons of water that you are not having to take out of the aquifer and convey through your system to your customers. So that's goal number 1. That's the primary goal. The secondary goals are to maintain the distribution system leakage at 10% or less. Now that's a state requirement, and you've been well under this historically. I've got a chart in another slide or two that will demonstrate that. And the third goal is to just have eyes and to continue to promote customer education and awareness of water conservation, right? We're all in this together, and that the awareness of the city's declining aquifer and financial incentives that are available to everybody, both in terms of free items that are available, as well as, again, incentives, just making sure that everyone knows what's available to them and how everybody can play a role in reducing their water use. Sort of working backwards here, let's talk financial incentives first. The city has a high efficiency toilet replacement rebate program. There is a lawn removal credit program, and the city provides free low flow water fixtures, so customers don't have to purchase these themselves, and those are listed here on the slide. A moment ago, I mentioned the city's distribution system leakage. Again, the state requirement is that this needs to maintain at the level of 10% or less. And the city has been well below this threshold historically. Going back, we have data back to 2009. And the city's been sort of oscillating between 4 and 5%, maybe hitting up to 6% some years. So there are absolutely no concerns here. You're absolutely doing a great job. And then really lastly, let's talk about some new mechanisms that are included in this updated program that are intended to help improve water conservation. Some of these items are, the addition of water conservation messaging on Pullman transit buses, which I know has already been implemented. Again, as Kara noted, this has been a long process. But also increasing the frequency and the messaging of water conservation information and tips in water bills and other mailings that go out to your citizens. The addition of a water-wise landscaping demonstration, as well as the implementation of the new water conservation code. And just to be clear, we did make some revisions to the rebates and credits available for the toilet replacements and lawn replacements, and we absolutely anticipate folks taking advantage of those opportunities. So I'll pause there. That's a high-level summary of the water use efficiency program. Happy to answer more detailed questions if you have any prior to you considering this resolution.
Councilmember Weller?
Has WSU figure not only into the data, but is that in the numbers? Because
Are you
per
asking?
capita-
Yeah, WSU is responsible for their own water system plan. Now we'll talk about or we may talk about this a little bit in the next item, or it was in the council item. As part of our water system plan update process, we do share our plan with nearby jurisdictions, WSU included, for input and comment. So we also have some interties between the water system, between the universities. So we've been in coordination with them, but our plan doesn't present their numbers.
Yeah, that's why I was getting at, because I know, we're both on the PBAC, so the historical water demand doesn't look familiar from what we've discussed in Palouse Basin Aquifer.
Yeah, this is really specific to Pullman,
Yeah, okay.
not the larger lens that you're used to seeing with PBAC, for sure.
Okay, all right, thank
Yep.
you.
Any other questions? So Kara, should we deal with this
Yeah,
one
if you
first?
can make a motion or
So-
vote on this.
So I'd entertain a motion for the first resolution, R19-25.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Dad, if you could please read the resolution.
Yes, thanks. Resolution number R-19-25, a resolution regarding the establishment of water use efficiency goals for the city of Pullman.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, that passes. So moving on to the next one, Resolution 20-25.
Yep. So this next action item will adopt the complete 2024 Water System Plan update as the official water system plan for the city of Pullman. This plan, as presently prepared, has been thoroughly vetted by the Washington Department of Health and is conditionally approved pending formal adoption by City Council as proposed tonight. Note that a public forum was already held on April 16th, 2024, to provide the opportunity for consumers and the general public to participate and comment on the proposed 2024 Water System Plan update. No public comments or questions were raised at that public forum. And I'm now going to pass things off to Ryan. And again, this is a huge document, lots of appendices, lots of work went into this, and he's going to try and just go over it at a very high level because it's a lot of information.
Thanks, Kara. Mr. Mayor, City Council, again, let's just jump right in. Again, these are going to be the high points. Let's start with why this document exists. Well, it's required in the WAC. And then, as Kara mentioned, once water system plans are drafted, they're shared both internally within different city departments to ensure consistency with the city's comprehensive plan, as well as externally with a number of review agencies. To answer one of the previous questions, again, WSU was closely coordinated with throughout a number of points throughout the planning process. So there is consistency between what the city is planning for and WSU and how the water systems interact. Then once everybody's comments are received, the water system plan can be approved and adopted by the City Council, and the Department of Health will provide approval. And that's really where we are today, right on the doorstep of city adoption and the Department of Health approval. So a water system plan, has, again, a number of components. It includes your projected growth and the system water demands and the improvements that are necessary to serve the growth, and determining the capacity of your existing system and when it might run out of capacity, as well as evaluating a number of non-growth related items, such as your water quality, your policies and design criteria, your M&O program. And it also ensures that a financial plan is in place to fund the proposed improvements. So there is absolutely a lot here. I'm going to try and hit mostly on capacity and improvements, because those are the types of things that really end up with dollars or large dollars associated with them. But again, happy to answer any questions as we get into this. So again, very high level. Before we get into too much detail, I just want to provide a high level overview of the water system. To build on a previous point, the city and WSU have separate water systems. So the city is serving off-campus housing and apartments and fraternities and sororities, but not the university or the dormitories themselves. There are 4 interties between the city and WSU systems that can allow either system to share water, if one water system has a shortage or an issue, but none of these interties are normally utilized. The city system has 5 active wells that can supply up to about 10 million gallons of water per day to the system. There's 117 miles of water main in the system, 10 booster pump stations, and 12 reservoirs. The map on the screen shows the water system configuration, including all these pipes and facilities, and the color coding is based on pressure zone. The water system has 6 pressure zones that account for varying elevations throughout the system. So most of the numbers I just cited are shown here, as is the water service population of about 31,000 people. The pie chart shows that of the 117 miles of piping, 6-inch and 8-inch diameter pipe makes up about 2/3 of the water main in the system, with other sizes, both larger and smaller, comprising the balance. And of all of this piping, about half of it is PVC, 25% cast iron, and then the rest is a combination of ductile iron, steel, galvanized iron, or otherwise. Moving on, although your system has 5 active wells, they're really not all equal. This chart shows the annual volume that each well supplies your system. And you can see that wells 7 and 8 in the yellow and green colors do a lot of the heavy lifting. They each provide usually more than 250 million gallons per year to your system, with the other wells supplementing throughout the year. And really the third most used well is well number 5. It's typically relied upon really only in the spring and summer months when demands are reaching their peaks. Oops, sorry. Let's talk about those peaks. So, like most systems in the Pacific Northwest, your water use is lowest in the winter months, and then it really peaks in the summer when water is primarily used outdoors to water lawns and gardens. So your system is no different. A lot of peaks in the July and August timeframe when temperatures are the highest and irrigation demands are are also very high. And we can see this on a customer class level as well. So this chart parses out the monthly supply on average by each customer class. So each color is a different class. You have single family residential, multifamily, irrigation, mobile home park, duplexes, group housing, government or school, and commercial. And you'll note that most of these lines remain pretty constant throughout the year, but you've got the two big summer peaks, and those are the single family residential line in yellow and obviously irrigation in green, which is only active for the hotter, warmer months. So what you see here is single family residential customers use about 4 times as much water in the summer than they do in the winter. So what this chart and the previous chart show is that your peak usage is in the summer, and that's when your existing infrastructure is the most stressed. And so that is really the basis that we use to determine how much capacity you have remaining before any improvements are needed. The other major component to determine when your existing infrastructure may run out of capacity is how fast you're going to grow. So as more people move into the city, more water is generally needed to serve these people. So we need to know not just how much water is being currently demanded by your system on a peak summer day, but how much water we should expect your system to consume on future peak summer days. That way we can be proactive to make sure there's enough water available for your customers X number of years from now. And so what you see here is the maximum day demand of your water system. So that's a hot summer day. And we go back in time, both historically, where your system demand was around 4,000 gallons per minute. And then we project out 50 years, to year 2070, and see where we might be in the future. The one key thing in this chart is that this assumes that all of your future customers consume water at the same rate per person as has historically been consumed. So in other words, it assumes that no savings from additional water use efficiency efforts take place. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if they don't, we want to make sure we have a high end of the envelope to make sure we know what's the soonest amount of time that we may need to be planning for improvements. But if your water use efficiency savings are fully realized, the resulting maximum day demand going out into the future is shown in this lighter green line. And you can see pretty easily the importance of continuing to have an effective water use efficiency program. It really allows you to counter 10, 20 years worth of growth by continuing to use water more efficiently. And that extends the ability of your existing facilities to continue to meet the needs of your system and allows you to defer the need for millions of dollars of improvements. And remember from the previous presentation just a moment ago, this reduction in projected demand would happen if the average demand per person decreases by just 3 gallons per day by the year 2033. So when we compare these demand projections to your current supply capacity, which is shown in the dotted green line, we can see when a new source would be necessary, a new well or otherwise. So if you continue to grow at about 1% per year and you have no savings from water use efficiency, where these two lines, I'm not sure if my cursor shows up, but where the dotted line crosses the solid darker green line, it's about 2039, year 2040. That's when you would need a new well. If you realize these full water use efficiency savings, you wouldn't need a new well until about 2055, where the dotted green line crosses the light green line. In terms of system capacity, we aren't only concerned with making sure there's enough supply capacity from our wells, but we're also looking at other water system infrastructure, like your reservoir volumes, your transmission capacity, and even your water rights. And this chart, I know there's a lot going on, but it shows your current capacity really every 10 years or so and compares the capacity with the projected demand that will need to be served. And that's the red line that snakes through the chart. So going quickly here, what we see in the year 2033 is that all of the bars go beyond the red line. And that means each component of your system is sufficient beyond the year 2033. Going out another 10 years, you can see in the year 2040, the source capacity bar, the yellowish bar, does not quite meet that red line. And so that's very consistent with the green lines that we were just looking at, right? Where 2039 or 2040 is when the source capacity would be exhausted. So what this shows us is your source capacity falls just short in the year 2040. Again, without any additional savings from water use efficiency measures. Moving out another number of years, in the year 2060, we would be projecting that additional storage would need to be added. And then out even further, year 2070, potentially looking at additional water rights that would be necessary. So again, I know that's a long ways out. It also does not assume any water use efficiency savings are realized, but it allows you to start to have a roadmap and a path towards making these improvements and being proactive instead of reactive as a utility. Now these charts are system-wide, so they're helpful, but we also need to be really mindful of serving, of serving individual neighborhoods or pressure zones, which may have more specific needs. So think of it this way, if you have all 8 million gallons of your storage on one side of town, that storage may not be very helpful to the other side of town. So that might show really well in the previous chart on a system-wide level, but it's really not helpful at a more micro level. So this water system plan analyzes everything I'm talking about on a more micro level as well. So the table on the left here is an example where we're analyzing if enough supply is available to a specific pressure zone, whether that water is coming from wells or a booster pump station. And the table on the right shows the storage capacity analysis specific to your Northeast High Zone, which is the pressure zone where your new Tank 12 was just constructed up off of Merman Drive. And so you can see here between 2022 and 2033, we've added Tank 12 to the system. So we've gone from 500,000 gallons of storage available to 1.71 million gallons. And you can see what that does. Just jumping to the bottom of the table, you go from having a historical storage deficiency in that zone to having a surplus of storage, and that surplus extends out until the year 2070. The other significant analysis that's included as part of the water system plan is hydraulic analysis, where we use a model, a computer model, to calculate the pressures and flows not only in the existing system, but the future system with the projected growth in order to size and site the proposed improvements. So we are analyzing pressures and fire flows and identifying where larger pipe needs to be recommended or where new reservoirs or wells should be recommended. And then we update the model and we see what those improvements do to improve pressures or flows, and it allows us to make sure that everything is adequately sized. And then all of that gets consolidated into a capital improvement plan. Now, the highest priority projects over the next 20 years are shown in this figure. In summary, the most significant near-term improvements are establishing a more detailed water main replacement program to replace undersized or aging piping, identifying a siting study for that new well that might be needed in the late 2030s. So you have time to acquire any property and then be mindful of how that selected location would interact with the rest of your existing infrastructure. And then some minor but really helpful pressure zone boundary adjustments are identified in a few locations that are really going to help some low pressures that impact just a small number of customers. So again, there's a lot of other items included in this water system plan. That's just a high level, so I'll stop here. And again, happy to answer any questions prior to your consideration of this resolution.
I definitely appreciate the depth of this. When the executive summary is 25 pages, that speaks to how big the whole document is. With that, any questions from the council? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval of this resolution.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? That if you could read the resolution.
Yeah, resolution number R-20-25, a resolution adopting the 2024 Water System Plan update as the official water system plan for the city of Pullman.
With that, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That opposed. With that, Carrie, you have one more up. So resolution R-2125.
All right. This next item is a resolution to award the sanitary sewer rehabilitation 2025 contract to the lowest bidder. This project will replace select existing clay and concrete sanitary sewer mains on College Hill in the neighborhood between Valley Road, Orchard Drive, and Stadium Way. The design targets problem segments of existing sewer main that are old, difficult to access, and they require frequent maintenance to combat heavy and persistent root intrusion. Approximately 2,000 linear feet of sewer main will be replaced in total. Roughly 75% of this will be accomplished via pipe bursting to install new HDPE pipe, and the rest replaced with new PVC by open trench excavation. Associated work activities include sewer service reconnection, manhole repair, replacement, and new installation, trench safety, temporary traffic control, erosion and sediment control, and miscellaneous concrete, paving, and landscape restoration work. The contract also includes a small amount of water system improvements in the immediate vicinity of the sewer replacement work areas. Bids for the project were received and opened on May 14th, with 2 bids received. Each bid was reviewed thoroughly, and the lowest responsible bidder is Roach Construction Company, LLC of Genesee, Idaho, with a bid total of $906,703.20. Included in your packet, you will find the bid results for each of the 2 bids, along with the engineer's estimate. As you can see there, the low bid is above the engineer's estimate by roughly $110,000, and the second bidder's price is more than double that of the low bidder. Review by staff has determined that the submitted prices are reflective of the actual price to complete the project, and that the low bidder, Roach Construction Company, LLC, is qualified to perform the work. Replacement of the sewer mains to be addressed by this project is essential and imminent, and re-advertising at a later date is unlikely to result in better pricing. Therefore, staff recommends awarding the contract to the low bidder, with expenses for this project covered by funds from the sewer maintenance budget and the water budget of the utility fund. If approved tonight, construction of this project is expected to commence no sooner than late June or early July and be complete by the end of October. And I would welcome any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve resolution R2125.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that, if you could read the resolution.
Resolution number R-21-25, a resolution accepting the bid of Roach Construction Company, LLC for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation 2025 project and authorizing execution and delivery of the contract for said project.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
very much. The last agenda item, we have Resolution 2225, and Kurt Damon's back up again. And this is something I'm excited about.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Before you this evening is a resolution accepting the bid of EXCO LLC of Othello, Washington for construction of pickleball courts at the Pullman City Playfields. Just for reference, the location at the City Playfields would be on the north end, which would be near the viaduct closest to downtown behind the old shower building down there. So a little history about this project. It was originally scheduled in the 2024 CIP budget. We did have some delays in going out to bid last year as it was asked of us to provide some additional reporting from the city as we went through the site plan process. Project was sent out to bid in mid-August through the new MRSC roster system as a small works project, which has allowed for projects under an estimated value of $350,000. We did receive 2 bids, both exceeded that $350,000 threshold, therefore bids were rejected. We did have a couple factors that we ended up putting this project on pause last year. One was kind of timing and lateness in the year. We didn't feel the contractor would have enough time to perform the work before the cold weather set in. And secondly, waiting on some okays with the Department of Ecology on some variants in regards to our location with the South Fork of the Palouse River there. So the scope of this project really consists of two parts. One is removal of unsuitable soils through a geotechnical evaluation of that site. That site at some point was used as fill. So a contractor would have to remove almost 5 feet of soil and replace that with suitable soil in order to put a slab on top of that. And then the second part is the construction of the courts themselves, fencing, landscaping, irrigation, and asphalt walking path between those, the pickleball courts. So bids for the project were opened on May 6th. We received 8 big bids. The low bidder, EXCO LLC, had a base bid of $393,791 and an alternative number 1 bid for installation of lighting at $176,316. Engineer's estimate for base bid was $395,000. A copy of the bid summary is attached for your reference. Staff is expecting 1 change order on this project, and that would be for site access repair for grass and asphalt. So basically repairing the areas from Riverview Street back to the site itself. EXCO's estimate for that repair work is $34,480. When the bids went out, we asked them for a unit price, and it was for sod replacement. Staff feel instead of replacement of the sod that we can, the site can be prepped and we can hydroseed that instead of just replacing sod, and probably really save some money on that. So based on budgetary constraints, staff recommends awarding the contract to the low bidder for just the base bid amount only. Funds from the Metropolitan Park District Capital Improvement Program will cover those expenses. If approved, notice to proceed to the contractor will be approximately for July 1 to commence on site. Contractor will have 60 calendar days from the notice to proceed for substantial completion. And then there will be about an additional probably 30 days for concrete to cure before final application of the court servicing would be applied. So approximately somewhere at the end of September, courts would be opened. Questions?
I'm glad it's coming. With that, Councilmember DeLira.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. So how was the location of the pickleball court determined? Is City Playfields like the only feasible location, or?
We looked at adding additional courts at Sunnyside Park, out at Mary's Park, McGee Park, Military Hill, and kind of, looked at all those advantages, disadvantages. Some of those accessibility if we added new courts, and the requirements of additional parking all kind of come into play. At the city playfields, there is currently enough parking there. With the addition of the courts, accessible. We got the walking paths right there that lead right to the court. So, yeah, we looked at a handful of different places, and city playfields is already built for that kind of activity with the softball, baseball, soccer that goes on down there. And maybe somewhere down the road, if we acquire property across Riverview Street and build a bigger complex, this is a perfect fit.
Councilmember Fajarin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you again, Kurt. Appreciate the presentation on the pickleball courts. I read that 19.8 million people played pickleball in the United States in 2024. And on average, 48.3 million people have played it in the past 12 months. And so I'm so happy that we are given our community opportunity to be part of those numbers on an awesome new pickleball court. I did ask you some questions before City Council. I'm just going to ask them again for our audience at home and in the audience and here today. Initially, where the pickleball court is going to be built, I remember in previous CIPs, that shower building that you referred to was actually slated to be removed to make room. But I heard that that is not, that building is going to stay there. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So just for note, the courts being built, could be built in this location regardless of that shower building being there or removed. We had hoped to construct a new kind of park shop and storage facility. When we got engineers' estimates for that, it was a non-starter. It was about 4 times what we had budgeted for it. So our hopes were to build a kind of a new park storage facility, and then all those items that are kind of stored in the shower building be relocated to there. So that's kind of pieces had to fall in place, and it didn't happen. So something we're still planning for, potentially for some future court expansion as well, if that shower building was to go away.
Yeah, would love to see a future. I think 4 pickleball courts is a good place to start there, but I would definitely love to see more. Any concern of it being installed in the floodplain by the playfields?
I think there's always a little concern being next to the river there. You know, one of the things, reports that had to be provided to the city was a no-rise report in building in that location, basically not diverting water elsewhere. We did have to reorient our courts a little bit. Originally, last year, we were kind of on a running parallel to that shower building on a east-west orientation. We eventually did not get a variance from Department of Ecology because there was a small section of the courts at that time that were in the 50-foot high water mark, ordinary high water mark of the South Fork. In this process, we reoriented the courts more in a north-south and avoided that 50-foot area, and eventually did get the variance from Ecology.
Thank you for answering that. Last question, and as soon as I say last question, I forget what I was going to ask, which happens. I'm sure it'll come back to me right after I'm done.
Councilmember Parks?
Thank you. Related to what Councilmember Fajarin just asked about the flooding and what you described, it's my understanding FEMA is redoing the floodplain maps in the area. Do you know if that will have any impact on this project?
I don't believe so.
And
And our Community Development Director, R.J. Lott, is shaking his head no.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Fajarin?
Of course, it came back to me. EXCO, the lowest bidder for the project, they have not constructed pickleball courts previously, but they have significant experience in the concrete work that is needed to install it.
The architect, engineer, they followed up on references, and their references, as reported back to me, were all stellar. One of those projects involved a large concrete helipad, which the majority of this project is concrete work. So we felt comfortable awarding to them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
Move to adopt resolution number R22-25.
With that, if you could read the resolution, please.
Resolution number R-22-25, a resolution accepting the bid of EXCO LLC for the construction of pickleball courts at Pullman City Playfields and authorizing execution and delivery of the contract for said project.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Not, it passes. Maybe, when we get to October, it could be there could be an elected versus staff pickleball game, as we open things up.
I'll be the line judge.
At this time, the City Council will adjourn to executive session pursuant to RCW 42-30-110-1I to discuss with legal counsel representing the city matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency potential litigation concerning litigation that the agency reasonably believes may be commenced or about to against the agency. the governing body or members acting in the official capacity. The executive session is expected to last 10 minutes. If it becomes necessary to extend the executive session, someone will return to announce the anticipated additional time needed by City Council. The council does not anticipate taking action following executive session, and we'll start the executive session. I'll give you 4 minutes, so 8:23. Okay, we're bringing City Council back into session. With that, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. It's now 8:34.